What's up, guys? We are finally into the next Dave Canales press conference. Hopefully you guys are ready. He's finally telling us about what he is teaching the team. Hopefully you are ready. I certainly am. It is time to roll coverage.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Nope. They roll coverage.
Okay, without further ado, we're jumping straight over to Dave. Please take it away.
Pretty spirited practice today. Had our first move the ball type of setting at the end. So just kind of highlights a little bit of the, the urgency on the play clock. First and foremost, we're up there a little bit late offensively, so we'll clean that up. And then defensively, just they got to communicate faster. So just some of those things that get exposed, they really don't show up until you start actually getting out there. Everyone on the sideline, you're on the clock, plays got to get in. So it was a really cool, just 10 play little window to get out there and kind of bring it into the live setting.
Heck yeah, that is something, though. If you remember last year, one of the concerns was getting in the play within a certain amount of time, giving Bryce the ability to make adjustments at the line. That's obviously something he struggled with last year, so I do like that Dave is actually committing to fixing that. We've heard a lot from Dave about how he's going to handle the turnover battle. It's actually something that he learned from Pete Carroll, funny enough. So that has brought its way all the way from him over in Seattle down to Carolina. But obviously, this offense is a complete new install, a ton of offensive weaponry coming in. Again, you saw at the beginning our draft class. We've got some dogs on there, but they're going to have to prove themselves, just like Bryce is. But I like that Dave is just starting with the basics. That's what we need right now. Teach him the basics. I need him getting the ball out on a nice, easy time. Guys making catches, not overthrowing guys, the stuff that we saw last year. So I'm full steam ahead. Let's go.
What do we got?
Dave, we saw, I don't know if was Miles Sanders on the field today, and if not, why was he not there?
Miles just has a little something in his heel, so it flared up on him a little bit a couple weeks ago, so we're just trying to be really cautious with that. He's been doing some running on the side, getting treatment, all that. He's here, he's locked in, so just another precautionary measure there.
Okay, and that's something that we heard. We heard that he was running on the sidelines previously, so we know what's going on. We obviously are erred on the safe side. We also have Jonathan Brooks coming back from ACL, the kid from Texas, so the running back room looks stout. Chuba Hubbard does look like the running back one right now with Miles Sanders still dealing with the heel issue, so let's hope we can find some cohesiveness in that backfield, because I feel like there's three really good backs, and there really should be one stellar back. It's just who's going to break through it. Is this Chuba's year, or is this Chuba's year to start, and then maybe it's Jonathan Brooks' year to finish out? We're going to find out.
Yep.
Last week you spoke of a tight end friendly offense.
Yeah.
Ian Thomas, he seems to be making plays every time we're here anyway. Is he being overlooked a little bit, or is he think he's still in the mix for third or fourth tight end?
Yeah, now's not the time to make decisions on who's starting. For me, it's about the people that pick up our offense and are able to fit into what we're trying to do. And Ian's doing a fantastic job. So is Tommy. Sully's made some great plays. Jatavian's gone out there and done some cool stuff. Jordan Matthews has also, been able to contribute. He's been around the league for a while. So it's a really good, strong group. I love the attention to detail that they have in that group. Pat McPherson, tight ends coach, can't say enough about Pat. Just give me a minute to talk about him. A guy that I was with for 13 years in Seattle, and really was with us with the evolution of our offense and kind of what we became to what we are now. So it's really cool to just be with Pat again. And he's being able to just kind of give them some of the nuances of different concepts, the run concepts, where we're trying to fit our hats and all that stuff. So that whole group I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, and I want you guys to remember one thing. The thing that he said in his last press conference. We're seeing the body language. We're seeing him kind of just answering questions like he normally does. If you were here during my initial run of roll coverage last season, you were able to find the video where I actually picked Dave out to be a head coach in early December, far before anybody ever took him for a meeting or anything. And one of the things that he always talked about was that run game, how he was going to have tight ends sometimes just do a quick block, and then they're going to fall out to the side and he's going to be wide open, and that's going to be a great play. So I see the potential for everybody. Obviously, taking Jatavian Sanders, one of the best tight ends from the draft, is a little bit of a sign of the direction we are moving. But at the same time, his issue was not the best at blocking in college. So we're seeing that we need a better receiving tight end as opposed to just straight up blocking. And that's just in the league as a whole, to be honest. So.
For guys like Luigi and Leota, like with the veterans not being here on the bench, how big is this part of the offense?
Huge, right? So these are two guys that were with us. So some carryover there as far as just getting our calls, getting lined up properly, you know. So both of those guys just being around, being familiar with the terminologies is you know, really critical for us, especially with DJ being out right now, and then Jadeveon, of course, just not being here right now. So I can't thank those guys enough for really, you know, carrying that along for us.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big one for me. Personally, I think that this is going to be the year of where the offense does take a leap forwards. And I don't mean colossal leap. I don't mean 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, but I mean a good enough leap to where we're like, okay, we can see something. We can actually see the product that we drafted. That's awesome. But I do see the opportunity of us maybe getting a little in the weeds with it. Dave obviously is going to bring a lot to the table, but as the offense goes up, I feel like that defense is going to suffer. I feel like we're going to feel the loss of Brian Burns much more than we're willing to admit. So that's something that I'm going to kind of keep reiterating, though it may not occur. Evero just might have the right sauce right now in the moment, and this could be a great year to be a Carolina Panther fan.
With DJ and how have all these absences affected your ability to kind of rate that position?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know, you know, we really, I kind of say this with two hands. One is all these guys know how to play with pads, but just we don't know what we have until we can kind of get into those competitive settings together as a group communicating. And
you know what? That's one thing I'm going to say. A lot of people are going to say, you know, I made the joke in the last video, you know, people drinking the Kool-Aid thinking that we're going to go 12-5, and I just don't see that. But he is kind of right in what he's saying. You know, people got to temper their expectations, but also kind of allow people to progress along as they're supposed to. So.
And talking through stuff, you know, so of course we're going to, as we add our players back in, you know, during our mini camp, you know, during our training camp, that's an opportunity for us to really get the communication that we want. But in the meantime, what an opportunity, you know, what a great opportunity for the guys that are here, that are working every day, that are hearing the messaging, not just from the offense, defense, and special teams, but from me, you know, as far as who we want to be as a team. So I really, you know, really thank the guys that are here, and we've had a great turnout for the most part, you know, to be able to build the team that we want to be.
The DJ.
Yeah, DJ, just again, working through some different things. He had some complications with his, he had a quadricep tendon rupture there, and so he had a repair, and there were some different things they had to clean out. So it's kind of just like this back and forth, trying to get him as healthy as we can so we can get him on the field and get him back up to full speed. So he's still kind of working through some of those things.
Interesting. I certainly appreciate you keeping us updated, especially with the detail of his injury. He needs to come in and be an immediate impact, so I'm hoping we're able to slow roll his recovery and more get him ready in preseason week 1, 2, 3, and then really he starts kicking off in the first week of the season. So maybe that's kind of what they're thinking of. I'm not sure. Dave obviously has a plan, though.
A guy like Jaycee, who's had the injury problems the last 2
Yeah.
years, what have your conversations been like to make him believe, hey, that's your past, and then how important is it for him to be on the field for you guys most of this season?
It's been really great just to have him out there. We're being really smart about how we transition him in, especially during this phase. But when he's out there, you know, I think the cool part that I didn't know about Jaycee, which has been fun for me to see, is just.
Okay, whatever this is, I want to know, because people are out there think that Jaycee is a top 5 corner in the league. I personally thought he could have been coming out of college, but man, did that injury bug bite him. And bite him and bite him and bite him. So I'm hoping this is the first year. You know what? If Jaycee Horn ends up being a top 10, top 15 corner, I will be over the moon. But again, it's just like the rest of my Panthers. I need to see it on the field first. So if he can give me the first 14 games, I'll believe in him the last 3 or 4 because I just need to see him finish a single season healthy. I don't think that's a whole lot to ask either.
He's vocal, and he loves to talk, and he loves to kind of bring that edge and that energy, you know, and defense makes a couple of good plays, and JC's kind of letting everybody know, and it's I think it's just a really cool part of the personality of this team that I'm looking forward to. And he feels like he's in a really good place just in terms of his confidence. When he's out there, he's going, and that's kind of been the focus is, hey, we'll take care of you. We're going to have a plan. When you're out there, go for it. And he's really taken on to that. So that's been great.
In the beginning of practice, it looked like the special teams was kind of working on the new kickoff format.
Yeah.
I'm curious just when that was introduced, kind of how you guys put together a game plan for implementing that, and does it feel like maybe
Again, I'll say it every time I make a video about Dave Canales. Whoever is at Burt's Bees, Carmex, I don't care. Get the Walmart generic lip balm. I don't care. Somebody needs to sponsor Dave Canales. He licks his lips more than anybody I've ever seen. I think it's a vitamin deficiency, but I'm not sure. By the way, that's total speculation. It was just a random joke and a harken back to a previous episode.
nuisance to have to spend significant parts of OTAs reworking something that used to be second nature for so many years?
Yeah, this is really valuable time, to get the different looks, the ball landing in different parts of the landing zone, which is that goal line to the 20-yard line. So as we expect the ball to hit in different places, the critical part is the communication of the returners. There's two guys. Where is that ball kicked? And then everyone has to watch the ball because they're already starting kind of with a head start, the kickoff cover team, but it happens so fast. Guys are seeing how they have to engage their blocks pretty quickly. So we're just working on our setup points, following the trajectory of the ball. Is it a short kick? Is it a deep kick? And then that kind of basically determines what our setup point is, and then trying to stay on leverage for whatever the return might be. But right now it's really valuable for us to go through those things. We're watching a ton of film on because really there isn't a model like this. It's similar to what the XFL was doing, but there's so many different parts of what we're doing in little specific ways. So we're really trying to put those on film as best we can right now and try to learn from those.
Like that. Learn from the mistakes people have already made. I like that he wants them to be just in general more cerebral, but at the same time not overthink the game. So I think that there's a lot that's going to come out of Dave being the coach. Obviously, everything being aligned is going to give him a massive head advantage when it comes to him versus Frank Reich. So again, I'm expecting north of 5-6 wins. But at the same time, I think we're still going to struggle because I think as dynamic as his offense can be, you also have to still remember that people in the Bucs organization last year called Dave Canales vanilla, called him subpar, and didn't like his offense. So it's an interesting take to look at the end of the year as the whole and then say he revitalized Baker, yet most of the time, or I shouldn't say most, a good portion of the time, people were calling Dave Canales' offense mid. So obviously, it goes a lot more than mid and ends up winning a playoff game plus, but we just have to kind of give Dave some time. I don't think it's going to be an immediate turn of the switch in Carolina.
The special teams coaches have alluded to using a non-kicker to kick off in that situation, to have another coverage player. Is that something you'd consider? You got anybody who could do that?
Until we found somebody who could really, control the ball with his foot. I don't know if we have that player. So right now we're just trying to focus on, getting Harrison out there to place it where he needs to.
How much does the caliber of a stadium matter to you when you're done?
As far as the stadium itself, what I try to sell to the guys is it's going to be green. It's going to be 53 1/3. It could be grass. It could be our artificial turfs that we use. It could be
By the way, you want $650 million and you're still not even going to make it a grass field? No, absolutely not. Do not give Tepper the money. If it's not going grass and he's not footing the majority of the bill, we shouldn't get a stadium upgrade, period. He's worth $20 billion. He doesn't need a break. Give me a break with that.
It could be kind of, late in the season, it could be kind of a lighter tan color, So for me, it's like, it's all about what happens in that 53 1/3 right there and the guys on the sideline. And that's been a focus. I stole that straight from Coach Carroll, and
you're going to hear that a lot. If you haven't checked out my Who is Dave Canales 9-part series, make sure you do. Link as always is in the description. But a lot of stuff that he gets is from Pete Carroll. That's where his philosophy and so much more comes from. So if you really want to know more about Dave, look at Pete Carroll.
For our guys, for us, it just didn't matter whether we were at home or on the road. It was what happens inside those lines. with that being said, though, all the excitement of the new stadium and all that, I can't help but just get, fired up about that. Saw the renderings, that became public. And for me, as you get to know me, it's like I have this huge possibilities mindset of just like picturing what it would be like to have a championship caliber team, a team that the Carolinas can be proud of, to get that football part ready. And so as much as I get focused and excited about what's happening, it just brings me right back to this practice today. And we got a long way to go to be able to play the kind of ball that we want to with the communication and all that. But it's certainly an exciting time.
Absolutely. I do like that he's trying to temper expectations, that he's like, hey, man, we still got a lot of time to go. We still have a lot of growth that needs to happen. So I like that he's tempering. Of course, the renderings look sick. But again, if you watch my video, boom, it's right there. Link again is also in the description. I just don't think that David Tepper should get a pass on it. I think he should have to foot the majority of the bill. The taxpayers of North Carolina do not need to be paying for that, especially because if he does sell the team, it's not like he's going to kick them back that almost $1 billion that he's asking for. So,
in terms of the offseason program, where would you say you are based on where you would hope to be at this point in the offseason?
So I think I would say, because of the familiarity of the staff on offense, certainly on defense with the carryover, but on offense, a lot of guys that really, we kind of grew up together in different parts and different seasons in Seattle, and then of course going to Tampa and having a group of guys that I was able to work towards together. I'm really encouraged where we're at with our teaching of our systems, the teaching of our concepts, and I think that's kind of natural. As we talked early on, communication is the vehicle, and so when we can all speak the same language, we're telling the quarterbacks one thing, the tight ends and receivers are hearing the same thing in the concepts. The offensive line of the quarterbacks and running backs in the protection meetings, it's a group of guys that we're used to working together. So I feel like we're ahead of where I was at last year. Not trying to compare, but just looking at, coming into a situation where I have some familiarity, the carryover has been really refreshing for me.
and I can imagine. That's been my big thing on grading Dave versus Frank. Frank was put into a pretty crappy situation. And if any of us were ever put in that situation, especially if it was our job and we had people online bashing us when we ended up getting fired, I think you would feel some type of way about it as well. Again, I will continue to die on the hill that Frank was not the right position or guy for that moment. But then again, nobody was. I don't think a single coach would have succeeded there. So again, Dave is bringing his guys. They're installing his scheme. He's worked with them for multiple years. Everybody's pushing in the same direction. Nobody's trying to get Dave fired. So he's got a much easier way than when our head coach had last year. So.
You mentioned a couple of weeks ago that because of Bryce's accuracy, you can focus so much on his footwork. How have you kind of seen that come along just during this offseason, and how important is it, I guess, to build a quarterback from the ground up?
Yeah, huge, right? So it all starts with our feet. It all starts with the rhythm and timing in the pass game, okay? Whether it's under center play actions or in the gun with our drop back passes. And so we're looking for that rhythm that fits the pass concepts. And so I think for the first phase of it, phase one, where we're really just doing individual drills and we're not quite into the team settings, seeing the defense and all that, it's hard to really visualize himself other than watching things we've done in the past, So I think that as we've been able to be on the field through phase two and now in the OTAs, being able to see those concepts come to life with different coverages, different pressures, different types of receivers, that's where the growth is really start to happen for Bryce and even Andy. Andy's got a natural way to kind of create that rhythm. He's been playing a really long time, but learning our guys is critical. And so, but the ground up thing is exactly right. So that's what we're really focusing on and trying to marry that part up.
So that's an interesting one. I think it was week 11. I think it was between 11 and 14 of last year. What was Frank Reich and Josh McCown working on? They were working on his footwork. So it's interesting that that's the first thing that's handled by Dave Canales coming in with Bryce Young for the most part. The accuracy is there. That's what he had in college. I think Frank was teaching the scheme and teaching all the nuances of that rather than the footwork to start, and maybe that was part of the problem. Again, I think it was a whole other, the Hunger Games thing. But I just like this. This is what I like to hear from a coach. I like to hear that he has a plan, that we're not just kind of going out there and making decisions based on Madden, essentially, is what I like to call it. really making the decision based on him. Again, I liked that Frank did the from pistol and shotgun last year, considering Bryce took the majority from that. But obviously, Dave is going to force him to go under center, get more play action, and go that route this year. So I'm really hoping it translates into more opportunities for the run game. And not only that, but just gives the receivers time to get separation so we can actually get a ball down the field.
We have the last question from Joe.
Have you had contact with guys like Clowney, Chase on, and Pinheiro to know whether to expect them next week?
I have not asked them, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to send a message that I'm pressuring them to be here at all. This is voluntary. But what I have done is just kind of reached out and just touched base with them and just making sure they're doing all right, and just kind of hearing what their life has looked like. That's what I'm concerned with, is that during this time we don't just have this huge personal absence of just not connecting, and from the reports I've gotten, the coaches have also had chances to reach out and to connect with guys, just so they know that something's good happening here. And I just don't want them to come back in with us and just not have a feel for the whole thing and what's happening. So just like a once a week, just check in with a lot of those guys.
Hey, as always, I just want to thank the Carolina Panthers for giving us the opportunity to work with Dave. Again, I thought of him December 9th, 2023. I said that he would get an opportunity, and I said if he ever came the Panthers' way, that I would give him a chance, and I'm giving him that chance. Dave, I'm giving you an A+ for this, so let's hop over. This is your first draft that you were a part of, so this is something that you're going to have the legacy of. Obviously, I've already done the Dan Morgan one, so we're not going to go down that route, but I do think that we have a great opportunity in front of us. And I hope that you're obviously still here watching, but I hope you give Dave as much criticism as we give him praise. Yes, Dave is one of those guys that really wants to give positive praise. He's made that very apparent. Yet at the same time, we still need to hold him accountable for things that are happening. I would like to see a more diverse passing to rush game as opposed to just running, even though we've drafted more pass catchers. So it's going to be an interesting mix. Like I said, I need to see it on the field first. Give me your thoughts on this. Did you think that he gave away too much? Do you think him talking about the injury or Eddie was too much? Drop it down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe. I'm always here. My name is Nick. This is Roll Coverage. Peace.